Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today we're reviewing for you Bubsy 4D on the Nintendo Switch 2. This review was originally written by the wonderful Niall Bowie and has been adapted for video by me. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Reputation matters, and few video game characters have spent longer trapped beneath the weight of their own than Bubsy. The wisecracking Bobcat arrived in 1993 as accolades answer to the 90s mascot platformer boom and promptly became notorious for clumsy design and punishing controls. Yet the Bobcat somehow kept clawing his way back into new releases despite this. Since acquiring the rights to Bubsy, Atari has been intent on nudging him through a belated redemption arc. Two underwhelming modern revivals and a poorly received retro collection have not exactly made that easy, but Bubsy 4D, developed by independent studio Fabraz, famous for Slime Sand and Demon Tides, is the first of these efforts that feels like it has a real idea of what Bubsy could be. While still a long way from clawing at the heels of the genre's biggest names, Bubsy 4D gets one very important thing right. It is a solid mid-tier 3D platformer built around speed, momentum, and replayability, and it directly tackles the flaw that has dogged the series from the beginning. Bubsy is now genuinely satisfying to control if you can imagine such a concept. Its double jump, glide, flutter, pounce, and wall scramble can all be chained together with surprising elegance, giving you multiple ways to correct mistakes in mid-air, while a new hairball roll adds a burst of Sonic-like momentum that sends him rocketing through half-pipes and feeds neatly into the game's obvious speedrunning ambitions. The stages are more sprawling obstacle courses than sandboxes, emphasizing traversal while being fairly shallow in terms of exploration. Levels are open enough to invite some poking around for collectibles, but their real purpose is to test how well you can string Bubsy's moves together across long gaps, moving platforms, and timed hazards. Each stage asks you to reach the Golden Fleece at the end, collecting yarn along the way and hunting for blueprints that unlock new shop items and abilities. Generous checkpointing does a lot to keep that focus enjoyable rather than frustrating. Most failed jumps simply drop Bubsy back to where he started, but he can be kicked back to a checkpoint after taking 3 hits, or 4 if you get an upgrade. The yarn you find scattered around can be spent on costumes, whilst the blueprints can be used to buy upgrades to meaningfully add to Bubsy's moveset, along with unlocking extra options such as checkpoint warping, healing at rest areas, or extra movement assists. All of these modifiers can be toggled as well, which is a really smart move, letting you make the game more or less forgiving depending on how you want to approach it. A casual run of a level might take anywhere from 5 to 20 or more minutes if you're seeking out optional pickups, like the trickier to find blueprints, but that very same stage can be blasted through in a fraction of that time once you understand the route. Each level has speedrun targets, and the inclusion of ghost data lets you study other players' beelines through the stage in order to try and match them yourself. The catch is that the overall level design rarely matches the quality of Bubsy's moveset. Whilst colourful and competently assembled, stages are underbaked as actual spaces, with nothing in the way of small puzzles or NPC side objectives or diversions that would make gameplay more varied. Exploration rarely has a satisfying aha quality that defines the best 3D platformers. The main collectible, which are the yarn balls we've mentioned a few times now, are frequently laid out in plain sight, scattered across rooftops and platforms, with little required beyond spotting them and hopping over to collect them. Blueprints, on the other hand, are placed behind more involved platforming sequences and are better hidden in the latter half of the game's 15 stages. Combat is similarly lightweight, and series staple woolies serve as the standard enemies that can be dispatched in a single hit. Boss fights against cyborg sheep Babbots fare better, with genre-typical 3-hit patterns that have you dodging attacks, waiting for openings, and striking back. They aren't especially inventive, but they are mildly challenging and perfectly serviceable. Visually, garish color palettes are confidently committed to, but the overall presentation lacks the refinement of stronger platformers. The game's 3 worlds each carry a distinct handmade aesthetic, from Yoshi-like yarn-covered crafts to paper and ruler themes and more besides. But its environments too often felt sparse, and large open stretches can look a tad unfinished. Bubsy's cel-shaded model is endearing in a Saturday morning cartoon kind of way, and gels with the game's irreverent fourth-wall-breaking humor. A pointed riff on a certain plumber's gold star collectible and his cheeky self-appointment as the Orange Blur both land with a knowing wink, and I can't lie, some of the lines did get a genuine chuckle out of me, which is far more than can be said for other Bubsy titles. And thankfully, the voice work is generally solid as well, because that can absolutely destroy any humor if it's just being delivered really, really badly. In terms of music, there's a looping soundtrack of funky, loungy jazz pieces which are similarly agreeable, but not especially memorable either. We did encounter some minor audio jank though. Bubsy's incidental lines occasionally overlapped with other dialogue, while a death animation quip kept getting cut off when the game reloaded us at a checkpoint. This happened a lot. Performance on Switch 2 is largely stable in both docked and handheld modes, with no major issues interrupting play. And during the review period, a pre-launch patch was issued that addressed a number of different bugs and made the visuals look a touch crispier. In fact, that's all that you've been seeing. Lucky you. It's a welcome improvement certainly, but it's not anything that's going to drastically alter the broader impression. At $20 or 18 British pounds, Bubsy 4D is a solid budget platformer with levels that are consistently fun, if somewhat underbaked. Admittedly a low bar, it is comfortably the best Bubsy game ever made, with genuinely great controls and speedrunning depth that will reward players who relish climbing leaderboards and shaving fractions of a second off their runtimes. It's an easy recommendation for anyone with a soft spot for the 90s mascot platformers, or just morbid curiosity in the Bubsy franchise. For a series that spent decades as a byword for bad game design, Bubsy 4D is a long overdue course correction for one of gaming's most persistently maligned characters and a strong foundation for future titles. Bubsy 4D, you're getting a 7 out of 10 from us. Now that we got the formal stuff out of the way, it's time for Alex's personal thoughts, and I had a really good time with this game. It is, first and foremost, fun to control Bubsy. You know, you've got a lot of flexibility there. It's kind of a Fabraz staple at this point, but even so, it's good that it's here, because if it wasn't here, it would be bad, and that is the main thing that I think is super enjoyable about this game. The level design is okay, and, you know, sort of some of the platforming sections, the harder ones, usually when you're getting blueprints, they can be, you know, quite good fun, but a lot of the time it is relatively straightforward, barren, and empty. Combat, honestly, might as well not be in the game, because it is just, oh, there's an enemy, press the button, they're dead. Sometimes they take 2 hits, but, you know, even then, it doesn't really, it's one of those tricky things where the way you control Bubsy is so sort of free and fluid and allows you to get such ludicrous speeds that in order to make the game kind of palatable or playable, the areas have to be big, open, and just, you know, have not a lot in them. But as a result of that, visually, like standing still, the game, or just playing slowly, to be honest, the game feels like it's just this big, open, empty series of spaces. But when you play it at speed, it works. You kind of understand it, but it's a tricky thing to get right, and I don't think they've absolutely nailed it here. But, you know, when you're doing the speedrunning type thing, you're just trying to get through the level as quickly as possible. It works. It definitely works in that instance, but I can't help but feel that it's going to leave some less experienced players behind. It's definitely not a sandbox-style game, but it has elements of that, where the game is kind of at its best when you're just almost kind of just mucking around and seeing how fast you can go, and can I get across this gap? Oh, I can! That's great! You know, that's really rewarding and really good fun, but it does only take you so far. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try and coin a genre, but personally, the term that comes to mind for me is a playground platformer. It's designed to sort of run around and have fun in, but it's not a sandbox. It's not, you know, completely open. It's a playground. It's got obstacles. It's got bits and pieces. I'm well aware sandboxes also have obstacles and stuff in, but just go with me. I was also a tiny bit disappointed at how few levels are in the game. 15? It doesn't feel like a lot. When I first saw the like map screen and saw there were 3 planets, initially I thought, okay, that's level 1, 2, 3, and then we move on to a new screen. But no, each planet has multiple levels in it, which is fine, but then it's 5 in each, and then that's it. And considering some of these levels, when you're doing them quickly, can take, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, it's not a load of content, and there aren't many levels that are hugely memorable. There are some, like there's one where there's like these great big, it's almost like sort of tissue, sort of like roads. It's a bit Ribbon Road-esque, I'm not gonna lie, but that's really good fun. You're rolling around at the speed of sound as you should be, and you're jumping between ribbons. I remember that one very clearly, but there's also a lot of others where it just they just kind of blur together. I would still recommend the game though, because the way that Bubsy controls and moves is excellent. Like, it's absolutely excellent. It's just everything else isn't quite up to the same standard, you know? The camera was a bit of a nuisance at times as well. Not in a significant way, but there were a few instances where I had to kind of rely on feel in order to do something. Admittedly, maybe I put the camera in the wrong place. I don't know, but, you know, I can only say what I feel. I also really love the selection of options here. There's so much you can turn on and turn off in terms of accessibility. You can also turn on tank controls, which are genuinely awful, and the game even makes a point of saying, why did you turn them on? Did you actually just turn tank controls on? And the game is, whilst it's not unplayable in this mode, it is clearly designed to be nothing more than a joke and a reference, and for that, I can only applaud it. The costumes are great as well. I didn't know what I expected when I selected Hedgehog mode. I wasn't expecting there to be quite so much of like a censorship thing, but it makes sense at the end of the day, and it's just little things like that that give it the kind of character that I think Bubsy has always deserved, but has never quite managed to nail. So that stuff's really good, but it's just kind of like, it's the levels, really. The levels kind of let the game down a bit. But it is still good, I do still recommend it, and if you like your 3D platformers and you like gotta go fast, I think you could have a good time here.